So I came across this post earlier today and I thought it was a bit strange at first. It appears to be a comment on how the way a lot of Americans use the word forgot is a bit different than how a lot of British people use the word forgot. And this person would not say something like, I forgot it at home, right? In their variety of English, it's just not permissible in the same way, right? And it's fine to have differences, right? That's not my issue. We've got multiple Englishes in the world, and if we could live in harmony, I think that would be cool, if that's not too much to ask. But this last piece here, right? It's not a sentence, you sound stupid. Like, that's just gonna be silly to me, right? Because of course it's a sentence, right? It's kind of like how sometimes people say that conversate is not a word, right? Like, of course it's a word. You just used it, right? But I think that what might be helpful for all of us is to talk more about what a sentence actually is. And if I was to go broad with this, right, and try and get an all-inclusive definition of sentence, I'd probably say something like, a sentence is a collection of words or utterances or signs that we've organized into a complete thought, right? And in English, that organization is usually subject, verb, object, right? So some like, she likes me instead of likes me, she. And English is known for having a pretty strict word order, but we can still play around a little bit with this, right? Like, for example, we got something called right dislocation in English, and I'm not going to give the full rundown right here, but an example would be, like, in addition to saying something like, Carmen and Kenzo went on a date, I might also say, they went on a date, Carmen and Kenzo, right? And I would put a comma in there if I was writing it. And really what we did is we moved the nouns to a different part of the sentence, right? And we replaced that original noun slot with a pronoun. And you might do this to emphasize something or maybe add some clarifying information to something. And other times we can make very, very short one-word long sentences if we've got enough context surrounding it, right? Like, if I ask you, coffee, right, that might mean, do you want to go get coffee? Do you want some of my coffee or something else, depending on the context? But that one word will complete my sentence and express my entire thought, because those other words were just filling in the blanks based on the context. And I would also argue that we're using the context and filling words into blanks with the sentence above me here in this video. Because we start this off with me when. And the thing about me is that it typically shows up in the object position of our subject, verb, object order of English, right? Like, it's more likely to hear she likes me rather than me like she. And on top of that, me like she means something different than she likes me, right? But because of the context and the actions of the video where she, if I'm remembering right, just kind of covers her face in disappointment, right? We can pretty accurately assume that the blank here can be filled with, this is me when people say XYZ, right? That would be more along the lines of the subject, verb, object order that we're talking about here. And I'm not saying this to like laser correct this person's grammar or to put them down for their own grammar, but more like, I think that sentences come in more shapes and sizes than we sometimes give them credit for. But if we do give it credit and give different varieties of language more credit and give people more credit, right, then it really is a whole linguistic world that we can explore, right? And if you want to, we can break down language to a more cellular level. If you want to, you can learn more about different accents, different dialects, different varieties of language, right? And when all these things kind of come more into focus, I think what you realize is that a lot of these attitudes towards language is more so directed at the people that use the language rather than the language itself. And in my opinion, right, I don't know, it's a lot nicer to not shit on people. So yeah, there it is.